Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for your participation this evening. We are excited to get started again. Good evening if you're in the United States, or good morning if you're over in China. We'd love to have you back for our second session. My name is Frank Yurkovich. I am the International Programs Director at St. Petersburg College. And I would say in beautiful sunny Florida, but right now it is nighttime, so it is not sunny outside, but we will have beautiful weather tomorrow again. We are the Sunshine State. I want to thank everyone for being here. As I mentioned, this is such a unique opportunity for St. Petersburg College and just for all the students here. So thank you very much for everyone participating from our side of our college. And so we love being able to interact with the Chinese students. It's just wonderful because many of us will never get the opportunity to be able to travel there. So this is the next best thing. We are very excited. So the cities are beautiful. I've loved the videos. It's just been a wonderful first session. It's important for all of us to really get involved. So if you can comment, type some messages. If you love something you're hearing, type a message in the chat box. Say, that's great. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Or, hey, if you have a question, maybe asking a question about social media or whatever you have a question about, type that in the chat box. And then at the end, we'll take some of those questions and ask our guest panelists. So please get involved with whatever you can while we're having this session today. We are going to introduce, I'm actually going to introduce Justin Poupart. He is the moderator for today. Justin is actually in a very cold area. He lives in Canada, so which is north of the United States and Nova Scotia area. So he lives there with his family. He does a lot of stuff with China. So he's been there many times. He runs several schools, international high schools in China, teaching American curriculum. So we have a school nearby our college, Admiral Farragut Academy, just a few minutes away. And he actually works with that school, giving an American school curriculum in China for Chinese students. So that's wonderful for him to do that. He's also been involved in a lot of different things with other organizations with education. So he is very familiar with China, and he has been very into the Chinese culture. So we are very happy and delighted to have him on as a moderator this evening. And I just want to welcome everyone back and thank you very much for your participation, Justin. And go ahead and take it away.
All right, Frank, thank you very much for that excellent introduction. I really appreciate it. And it's really great that we're participating with a school in Guangzhou today. I lived in Guangzhou for about 3 years. It's a great city. I loved being there. And up until, just before COVID hit, I was still visiting Guangzhou several times a year. So I miss it. It's one of my 3 other homes, and I'd love to get back there again someday. We do have some panelists joining us tonight. Of course, we've already met Vera. Vera, do you want to say hi again and just give everyone a little refresher?
Hi.
There we go. Great. We've got Vera back. Excellent. And we've got Alex Heinrich joining us as well from SPC College. Alex, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself a little bit?
There we go. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Hi, I'm Alexa Heinrich. I'm the social media manager for St. Petersburg College. I oversee all of their social media channels. So I'm online quite a bit.
Great. So Alex, we hope that you'll have a lot to contribute to this little discussion about social media. This is going to be great. Also joining us, we have Zihao Lu. Zihao Lu, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. Okay, so let me make a brief introduction about myself. Now, my name is Lu Zihao, and you just could simply call me Hao or Lu if you like. I'm a Cantonese, and I born in Guangzhou and growing here. In 2015, I used to been to your country, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and now that I'm a student of Guangzhou College of Technology and Business, and studying in International Education School. For now, my major is Business English, and but that's it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Hao. I appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, let's introduce Ye Liu. Ye is going to tell us a little bit about herself. If I'm not mistaken, Ye is also a student at SPC.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Ye Liu. and you can call me Ye or Liu. I'm the student of SPC. I'm on the Seminar campus, and my major is digital media design. I have been, this is my third year in SPC. I really enjoyed that. And in my spare time, I just like play some video game and also the drawing. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah. And again, thank you all for joining us. And I think this is a great time to jump into our first question. And I'm going to direct that towards Ye first, and then other people can jump in there. Ye, you said that your major is digital media and design, and that you like to play video games. So what does your screen time look like sort of in the run of a week? How much time do you spend in front of a screen, do you think?
In fact, I'm using my cell phone a lot. So my daily screen time is like at least 5 hours. So the most things I do is on the social media, like a TikTok or WeChat, and also the Weibo. Yeah, those are the most social media I use.
Great. And for our American guests, Weibo is very similar to Twitter. Weibo is sort of like the Chinese version of Twitter. So Alex, considering social media and how much time people spend on social media, what do you think about Ye's comment about spending 5 hours a day on a screen? Does that seem fairly average to you, low to you? What are your expectations of a student's screen time in a day? I think Alex is looking for the mic. Yeah.
No, sorry, it doesn't let me unmute myself right away. So I spend probably 75 to 85% of my day on a screen. That's my average day, just because it is my job to manage social media professionally. For the average user, I would say 5 hours, anywhere between 5 and 7 hours is the average nowadays. Most people either sit in front of a computer for work, or they're looking at their television or their phone screens. So that's pretty normal nowadays, which has gone up in the pandemic because we were looking for ways to connect to other people when the world essentially shut down.
Of course. And how about you? Zhao, how much time do you spend?
I just checked my cell phone and they say I spend 8 hours per day on my screen, and 6 hours on it is on my WeChat and Weibo, and the other 2 hours just like some other program like my work or my own life. That's not a very good thing, I have to say. But also, I have to say my screen time is not only for the social media, but also for working in the environment. And, I'm a foreign language student, so, I have to translate the article in different languages. So that's it. Also, in China, I mean, maybe around the world, we would like to chat with those others through the screen. Yeah, that is.
Interesting. Six of your 8 hours are on WeChat and Weibo. And of course, WeChat is a communication platform. So that could be talking to friends, collaborating with other people. That's not necessarily playing and just having fun. Vera, what about you? How many hours a day do you think you spend?
So on the weekdays, if I have a lot of classes, like 6 to 8 classes, I usually do not use my social media. Yeah, I do not to get on the social media because I do not have the time. But during my weekends, like Saturday or Sunday, I do not need to work. And after I wake up, I just stay in my bed, scraping my cell phone and jumping back and forth on the different kinds of social media platforms. And when I got hungry, I just order the food. And after eating it, I just stay in my bed again and swiping my phone. Yeah, and this is circle. This is kind of like a circle. So on the weekends, I think maybe all the day, Yeah, but on the weekdays, I do not have so much time, so I barely use them. That's it. Thank you very much.
Interesting. And for our audience, you can go ahead and put in chat, how many hours a day do you think you spend on your cell phone? We'd love to see that while we're talking here. So far we've got like 6, between 5 and 7, I think Alex said is pretty much average. So you go ahead and throw your numbers in there and see how many hours a day you think you spend. See if anyone like hits 12 or something. Vera, you said something very interesting. You said you spend time in bed swiping your phone. Swiping your phone leads us to this idea of swiping through things where there might be TikTok videos or in China Douyin videos.
Yeah.
What are when you're using social media for entertainment, how do you feel about that? What kinds of feelings does social media generate with you, and how does that reflect with your friends?
I think it is a good way to communicate with other people that you barely know. Especially, you can find some very interesting videos, and you can have fun. And also, you can meet a lot of strangers who share the same interest with you, because people like to leave comments under the posts or under the videos that they like, and you can talk with each other. I think that is very interesting, because you can you barely know them, but you can talk with them and share your ideas, and think it's very amazing. But also, I think the social media is a time killer. Yeah, it can kill a lot of your time, and it can kill time unconsciously, and you're not aware of that. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Now, let me throw that same question over to Ye. As a Chinese student in America, are the perceptions or the ideas of social media different here? Have your perceptions changed since you've been here in America?
No. I think almost.
I'm going to throw that one to Ye. I'm going to throw that one over to Miss. Okay. Thanks for that.
I think the answer is same. No, not big change. But depend on what social medium I'm using, like WeChat or like Weibo. They have like the international like a program, and you can download the international one, and like the tools a little bit different, but the most of things like the same.
Have any of you, and Alex, I'm going to come to you at the end of this particular question, but for the 3 students, have any of you used social media in both China and America? So that you could compare your experiences?
Yeah, firstly, just Weibo and Twitter, and there's everyone now. It's very same, but how can I say the others? Like you have Porter, and we have Zhihu. That is another very same social media, but for the others, I'm not know that very much. So, and some others just like YouTube, and now Bilibili. I don't know if you did you heard Bilibili, but they are very same. And that's it.
Now, when I lived in China, Youku was very popular as sort of the Chinese counterpoint to YouTube. Is Youku still popular? Do people watch Youku videos still?
Maybe. I don't think so.
Don't think so? No. And the other one was 56.com, Wuliao.
Oh, that's.
Don't say that's old. Do not say that's old.
Yes.
All right. Fine. That's fine. Alex, let's throw this over to you for a minute. As someone who looks at social media from a career perspective, what are your perceptions of how students use social media?
I think it's interesting just because I'm constantly trying to educate my colleagues at the college about how students actually use social media based on what they send me to post. It's always the conversation around students aren't going to care about that, because I really see social media as more of an engaging tool, a conversational tool, rather than an informative tool of here are registration dates and here's advising hours. That's typically not what people are logging on to social media for. We log on because we want to be social. It's all in the name of the tool. That's what I log on to. That's what I log on to Instagram and Twitter for. I'm not really logged on to be informed first and foremost. Do I learn things on social media? Yes. Do I get news and world updates on social media? Yes. But that's not really the primary function of why I use it. And that's not why I used it when I was a student in college, which was not that long ago. So it's kind of interesting to see how, yes, it's an information tool, but that's not really what everyone's using it for. We want to be social. We want to interact with people around the world. So it's always kind of an interesting conversation to have with my peers in a way that doesn't offend them. I get why you want to promote this thing, but it's not as interesting to the people logging onto social media as you think it is.
Right, and that's a very good point. And let's actually throw that back to our students for a moment. Why do you go on social media? And for our audience too, you can feel free to put your answers in here too. What do you look for when you're going on social media? Are you looking for pictures of Hygge? Why are you on social media? Anyone can jump in for this one. I'll just let you fight it out. Right, Frank started with funny videos. Vera, go ahead. Vera, why do you go on social media?
I think 50% for my work because WeChat is very it's very efficient communication tools for us. Maybe we do not have each other's phone numbers, but as long as we have each other's WeChat account, we can talk with each other very quickly and as soon as possible. So at every first of the semester, I would just set up the WeChat group for each of my class. And all my students are in that WeChat group. They can ask me questions at any time, anywhere they want. And also I will send them additional reading materials to them to let them read before the class. Or sometimes they would send their assignments or some of their questions to me, and I will answer that. So social media is a pretty efficient thing that we use today for communication and also for my work. And for my personally, I would use it as an entertainment tool to kill my time like that. When I do not need to work, I just use the social media to communicate with other people or see very fun videos. I think that is very interesting, and also it can just let me relax. Yeah, that's
it. So you've got both a professional and a personal use for your social media.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you use social media for the most? Most part?
As for the social media, most just it has to be my own life, chat with my friend, chat with my family. Though I am studying local, but I don't have so much time to visit my family, and so the social media is the only way that I can talk with them and the other friends, maybe in the other places to sorry, you know what I mean. So for me, 60% for my own life and 40% for my study and my work.
Okay. And yeah, how about you?
The most two important thing for me to use the social media is the one is chat with my friends. Or the second one is see the funny videos on TikTok or whatever. Yeah, but I'm not used to like a social media a lot in the United States, but I'm used a lot in the China. When I was in China, I use WeChat every day and to check like the assignment because in my college we use the WeChat to send the assignments or create a discussion group, and then I can the people can share the informations in the group, and then we can just like share the assignments or the something interesting.
Sure. So it really sounds like the three of you use social media mostly for productivity. And some comments here that I'm seeing in the chat, keeping in touch with family. I see Jeanette uses it to keep in touch with family in Puerto Rico. Courtney Joe said that she uses it for study and work, but it can help us to relax by watching some funny videos. And of course, we assume that we're talking about TikTok or Douyin. I personally had to delete TikTok because 6 hours was like a minimum. So yeah, no, I had to delete that.
Same thing. that little guy would pop up and be like, "Hey, you've been scrolling for a very long time." I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep scrolling."
Yeah,
right
and that's
past
fine.
you.
I'm gonna
You
keep going.
can't.
There's more coffee here.
You can't stop me. So that was a good effort by TikTok. It worked the first few times, and then after that, I was like, "No, I can scroll right past you. You can't stop me." So.
Exactly. And Peter Liao just threw in here too. WeChat is very convenient for us to chat with others. And I agree with that. I mean, all through the pandemic, I've kept in touch with all my Chinese counterparts with WeChat. And WeChat's a very important part of my own life. And speaking of the pandemic, has your social media use changed, or your ideas and perceptions of social media changed throughout the last 2 years of the pandemic? And I'm going to start, Alex, I'm going to finish with you on this one again, because you've got a professional view on this. And I'm going to go to Hal first for this one. Has your social media usage changed through the pandemic?
For me, it doesn't change a lot. For the very first year, I used QQ and WeChat. Through now, I still use them. But I have to say my opinion to the social media. It has changed a lot over the time. Especially I found myself can hardly disengage myself from working because, by the social media developing, my life and my work just be bending. They just be bending to each other, and I can hardly disengage myself from it. So this is really hard to say whether it is good or not.
Okay. Yeah, how about you?
I think not really changed, but my personal preparation has a little bit changed about the social media. I used to think that it's really waste my life. Like I spent a lot of time on the social media. But right now, I think the social media is really important tool for me, and in my life, I couldn't leave them. And I think if I don't use them like over time, it's a really good deal.
Okay. Vera?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So how has your social media use changed throughout the pandemic?
I think not really changed a lot because our country has already, I think, passed that process, past that page. I think everything is just to get into the normal, so it does not change a lot. But as for me, I think my perception towards social media has changed over my age. When I was still a student, I think that is very amazing. That is very wonderful because you can get access a lot of information. But when I grew up, I became adult, and I need to work every day. So I do not have so much time to I do not have so much time on it, and I need to work. I need to support myself and also my families. So take care of my parents. I do not have so much time to spend on it. So and currently I think it is a time killer. Using it is very time consuming. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Alex, I'm going to read out a comment that just came up here in chat as well. I started using social media a lot less due to the pandemic because I found it wasn't helpful for my mental health. So Alex, from a professional point of view, has social media usage changed in so much as how you use social media professionally throughout the pandemic?
Yeah, I would say that it has. In terms of mental health, I feel like a lot of us are more aware of how screen time plays into our mental health, and we've all heard burnout thrown around quite a lot, and it's not just a productivity thing. There's definitely creative burnout and mental burnout when it comes to your screen time. So I've definitely felt that. I am subjected to hundreds of people wanting to get help from the college every single day, reading comments, reading inbox messages, and it can be a lot. I remember the first 2 months of the pandemic were very draining for me personally. And thankfully, I have leadership that was constantly checking in to make sure that I was taking time for myself and I was, making boundaries with my work and my personal life, just because when the pandemic started, social media was a huge thing for our students to stay connected to the college because they couldn't physically be here. But it was truly a lot for me. And I can easily say that the first 3 weeks of the pandemic for me are a complete blur because I was online so much. My normal 8-hour days were more like 12, 13, just because I was trying to do my job for all these people that suddenly needed so much more out of me because of the pandemic.
Sure, absolutely. And we've got a couple more questions here to keep going through, and some of them now are going to get a little bit personal for you. And I'd like you to share your feelings about this. And we're wondering what people's feelings are between again China and America. But how do you feel about your personal safety when you're interacting with people on social media who you don't know? Do you have any concerns about that? Have you had any experiences with that?
I can take that one.
Yeah,
I have been using social media to network professionally for several years now, and I can say, just from a user standpoint, I am so desensitized to a lot of the aggression on the internet, just because I've been experiencing it for 15 years at this point, which is just really sad to think about. But social media gives people this sense of courage because they're hiding behind a keyboard and a screen. So it can be really overwhelming at times. When I was still in college, I had my personal address leaked on social media.
wow.
And that was terrible. So yeah, I am very careful about how I conduct myself on social media just because of past experiences. So thankfully, the platforms are trying to do more around user safety and getting horrible people off of the platforms, but it is very worrisome a lot of times.
Now, do any of you, I think we could use the word trolling, meeting with trolls, internet trolls. Are we familiar with that term? Vera, is that a term that's popular in China and Guangzhou as well? And,
Yes.
and meeting with, encountering aggressive comment and maybe rude or argumentative.
Yes.
Is that as popular? It seems to be popular here for us. It seems to be something we deal with, cyberbullying and that sort of thing. How is that over there?
Yes, when because you post something online, we do not know your name because we are totally strangers. Some people may say some irresponsible things, or they just share their opinion, very outspoken. Yeah, they do not need to worry about other people's feeling when they see those comments or hear some words. So they just say whatever they want to say. Yeah, it's very common. I think even in the world, yeah, everywhere it has cyberbullying. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Yi, Hao, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I heard about like that. Some people make like a really bad comments in the people's like a communist, and when the people see that words and they feel really good, maybe like just really terrible, make people like go to die or something. Say yeah, just really bad because the people behind the computer and they just typing on the keyboard. They don't have to you don't have to put any like your personal information. If you put your address, then person who see your like made a bad comment, they will go to your home.
Wow. Yeah, that's not good.
Right.
Yeah. How actually, and Alex just put in there here the phrase keyboard warriors. I think, yeah, that's what you're talking about. People
Right.
fighting with the keyboard.
Right. That's the good word.
Yeah.
Right word. Yeah.
How, what do you
Yeah.
have to, what do you have to offer to this one?
I have to say, cyberbullying at this point, and we're all same. That all around the world, we have some, keyboard warrior, because they don't know you and they don't have to pay anything for what they say.
Mhm.
And so for me, I will try to hide myself and without my own real information to avoid this. And some of them can use some technology to find your own personal information, even like your phone number, your parents' phone number, and something else. If you're saying too much online, I don't know whether it is happened in your country, but it's happened mine.
Well, I think all of you have said it happens everywhere. It
Yeah,
happens
it's-
everywhere. So the
Yes.
last thing I'm going to throw out here, and I think Frank and Sam are going to work on getting some questions out to our audience and letting the audience ask you guys questions. But the last thing I want to throw out as a comparison, again, Alex, maybe you can start us off with a little bit of what is happening on our side to protect people. I know that certain platforms like Instagram and certainly Twitter and things have algorithms and things, but what is happening to sort of reduce this keyboard warrior trolling thing that's happening?
In terms of safety, some of the platforms, Twitter tries harder than others when it comes to user safety. Apple has made a big push when it comes to user information and it being shared across apps. You get a pop-up now on your phone of, do you want to allow this app to track you across other apps? And you can opt out of it, which Facebook absolutely hated when it came out, and they're fighting it because that's how they scrape a lot of data on users and how they interact with the online world outside of Facebook products. So that's been a big fight the last few months between Apple and Facebook, because Facebook, personally, to me as a social media manager, is like the center of all evil for social media. They do so many shady, bad things when it comes to personal information and how they handle hate speech and all this other stuff. So it's been really interesting to see Apple take this stance and kind of get in the way of people doing bad things on the internet.
Sure, that's great. Now, what about thank you very much for that, Alex. That's great. It's nice to know that some companies are taking an active position. What about on the China side? Are you aware of any policies, or do the software platforms do anything to protect users? What's happening on your side?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer this question first. I think I'm gonna mention WeChat. So I think it's a good app for good privacy, because it is not something that anybody can find your profile. And you need to give them your WeChat ID or phone number or your QR code, QR code. And after you agree that, they can add you as their friends. And after that, they can see all your information. But if you want just to talk with this person, you can hide your personal information and your movements, your post. You can hide those things, and you can just talk with this person. So I think the WeChat is a good app for good privacy. And we also worry about some apps, some app, because they will track our search history. And also they will track all our online activities for different kind of purposes. They provide some clear picture about our personal information and also our interests. Most of the time, the tracking is for advertisement purposes, and it allows the advertiser show ads on your screen according to your taste and interests. But Sometimes it's information used by the cyber criminals to carry out some illegal activities which may risk our online banking system and our personal safety. So I think we should protect our personal information and do not leave a lot of our personal information on our social media, except for some, especially on those platforms that they do not have such a good privacy. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for it. And that's funny. You're the first person to mention online banking and financial so far too.
Yeah.
That's also very, very important to be careful of. Yeah. How would you like to contribute to this?
I think I personally don't mind to sharing my basic privacy, like my name or like just the age. But I really don't. I really mind if I sharing my like a phone number or address, because I'm getting like a lot drunken calls every day, and I don't know where they got my phone number from. I think the most the company they selling the people's informations to make money. And I'm not only one to receive like the drunk calls, and all the friends near me, they receive the phone calls every day. I think that's really a really serious problem, because our information is I think they post online or something like that. And also about like the social media tracking your the history that what you're looking for, and they try to sell you the stuff. Today I heard about really interesting story that like some apps like Uber Eats or DoorDash or like the Postmate, you can call your the food, and they said if you download every every apps on your phone, and then the Uber Eats will be sent your coupon. That's really weird.
Yeah. I hope you didn't read that on the internet, because everything on the internet's true.
Right, that's right.
How? Any final thoughts on this one, on protecting yourself online or concerns for being online?
Okay, so Chinese saying so much thing that I can say. But also, like every Chinese or everyone in the world, I am also care about my privacy. But to be honest, though, I'm so care about that. I still cannot know whether my online personal information is be protected well by the oligarch, by the big company. They protect my information, or they just sell them to make money. I don't know. But also, I'm just trying to avoid myself from being known.
Yeah.
To protect my health information to be sold, and even to be searched to the others, like the keyboard warrior, and maybe they can just find my self information to attack me, just send some mails or something like that,
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Good.
That's it.
Good. Thanks, Hal. That's really good. And we've talked about things like personal financial information. We also have to protect ourselves from, Yi just brought up this great example of how she read something about if you download all the other food apps, Uber Eats will get a coupon. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there trying to get you to download things and do things and push you. And social engineering, Alex, is that the word we're looking for? Trying to get you to do things so that another company will benefit from your online actions.
Yeah, it's social engineering. So there's social hacking and social engineering, and I actually just warned my mother about this, because with Facebook and older generations, I've noticed her sisters primarily were answering all these random posts from random pages.
Yes.
Like, what would your superhero name be if it was, the name of your first dog? And they would answer it because it seems harmless. And I had to explain to my mom, do not answer those questions, because those are social engineering hacks. They want answers that you would typically use for password security information. So they're trying to use your naivete against you to hack your banking accounts and your personal accounts. So she had to warn her sisters, like, stop answering. Plus, we both agreed, like, no one cares what your superhero name is going to be based on the name of your first pet.
No.
But yeah, so it's scary about how sneaky people can be now to get this kind of information.
Exactly. Now we've got about 5 minutes left. We do have some questions here in the chat, and these are going to be rapid fire. So I'm going to fire a question out there, and whoever jumps on it first gets to answer. All right. So, for example, one of the first questions we see here is it easier for you to make new friends on a social website than offline?
Social.
Social. Alex says social. Social media.
Mhm.
Online or offline? Students?
For me, it is offline.
Offline? Okay. All right.
Mhm.
For me, online.
Online? Yeah. Vera, what about you? Are you making new friends online or offline or both?
Online.
Online? All right. Tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that. Like 1 minute.
Okay. We used the Weibo, yeah, to make interaction with Chinese celebrities and influencers, and also a lot of American actors. They also have their Weibo account. We make interaction with them, and also we have fan groups on the Weibo. Yeah, we can meet a lot of people who share the same interest. We may even meet offline and see a movie or go to a concert together. Yeah,
Oh, very good.
because we love the same person. Yeah, we love the same person. So that is why I think online is a good way to make friends. Yeah.
Thank you, Vera. Yeah, can you throw something in there for us too? How do you meet people online?
Yeah, like for example, some words I can say that online. I can typing, but I'm not really good like at talking. So some new friends, I think it's better to typing with them, and I don't feel weird. So when I just maybe we can meet in the real life, but it's just really different, like different feel from online.
That's a very, very interesting comment. Yeah. So you feel more comfortable engaging with people sort of behind a screen who you don't have to necessarily interact with face to face. That's a comfortable place for you.
Right. Maybe
That's-
I'm just too shy. So
Sure. So in a way that helps you expand your social circle.
right. And also my friend tell me I'm really different when I online checking. Also when they meet me in real life, they say a different person.
I hope, Vera, I hope you're not one of those aggressive trolls. All right, we have another question here that I think is great. What new forms of social media do you think we'll see in the future? And there's one that comes to me, one that comes to mind for me, and I want to see if you say it. What new forms?
It's the metaverse.
Okay.
It's virtual reality and augmented reality. That's what the future is. I don't think I could ever do it because I get motion sick, so I don't think I could swing with that. But yeah, that's what the social media platforms want to do. They want to do augmented and virtual reality so that you can feel like you're in the room with someone who's all the way over in China.
Sure. Let's have our students run with that for about 2 minutes. How do you feel about augmented AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality in social media? They're thinking about it. What would that mean? Imagine, for example, you have a glasses, like Vera's wearing glasses. Now, when you're looking at glasses,
I know VR and AR, but I cannot imagine how we use it in social media.
Well, imagine
I didn't imagine that. I didn't imagine that.
Imagine you could look at somebody. Vera's looking at us right now, and on her glasses, scrolling meta information about us, what our hobbies and pastimes are, our Weibo feed, or our Twitter feeds, or whatever. All that information is right there. How would that impact social interactions?
I didn't imagine that, so I need some time.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anybody
I
else?
don't know.
Yeah, Vera?
I think that is very interesting. because you do need to meet this person in person, and you can just have a virtual communication with this guy online, and you can just see whether this person have the same interests with you, and whether you're continue to talk or go offline, meet offline. So I think it's a good way for us to choose the best person that we want to talk with. I think it's also for our safety, because if without that we barely know this person, and if we meet them offline, it may be threat our safety. So if we can use that in advance, we can select the best person that we want talk with. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, anything to add?
That's really good idea in future. Like the AR, right now they just using on video game, I guess. But if we use in, I couldn't I couldn't think about it. It's really like good idea. But I don't know if we want to just like hug each other. It will be like feel each other. I don't know, but it's just like a really good idea for that. I just cannot imagine how that way to share, because we have like a video call right now. I don't know if that feel exactly the same or different, because we just still couldn't touch each other.
Yeah. Well, given the amount of money that these big companies are spending on this technology, I think we're going to know, and we're going to know very, very soon. Facebook and WeChat and Weibo, they've all become parts of our lives in some way or other. And I think this is probably something we're going to see in the future. Our time is coming to an end. I really, again, want to thank our panelists for joining us this evening, this morning, taking time out of your busy schedules. I want to thank ISPS for inviting me to moderate today. This was exciting. Alex, thank you for bringing your insight. It was great to have a professional counterpoint to some of our opinions and some of our feelings. I believe I'm going to turn it back over to Frank, who's going to wrap us up. Frank's giving me a thumbs up there. Again, everyone, thank you very much. Big round of applause for all of our participants. And be safe, be well, be good, and most importantly, be back. Thanks.
Thanks, Justin.
Well, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Alex. Yay, Lou and Vera. This is wonderful. I've learned a lot, and it was just wonderful hearing you all. And virtual reality, augmented reality, it's something I know we use in our department with being able to take tours of China, taking tours of cities around the world. Our students put on the goggles and they're able to get an experience, right, without having to leave a room, and they can be able to participate in something like that. I can't imagine, as Alex mentioned, motion sickness and things like that. I could totally see that happening. People getting a little sick, maybe, moving around too fast. But I think it's very close to there. I mean, you can buy now in the United States, you can buy an Oculus Quest, which is made by Facebook. Surprise, surprise. Facebook owns a large virtual reality business, and you can purchase a set of really high quality virtual reality goggles for about $300 or $400 US. And we use some here for the different tours and stuff. So it is very, very realistic. And I could see that happening very soon because of all these things I've seen out there. So very interesting. That could be a whole conversation probably on another session. So thank you, Justin, for doing a great job. We're going to have a little break here, and we're going to come back here in about 10 minutes. So if you need to use the restroom, grab a tea, grab a coffee, whatever you'd like, and we'll come back for our final session in about 10 minutes. So thank you all, and see you all shortly.